Asia. Plurality is not going to allow us to solve this, but I tried to transpose that upon this discussion of America that I see going on in this session. The kind of critique that I hear being put forward is obviously important and sensible, but I wonder what happens when we start seeing America as a multiple site, including the sites that were discussed by Candace in the previous session. Sites of social movements, sites of struggles, opportunities to learn. And when I speak to you as a Canadian, I actually say so as someone that has found great intellectual resources in the field of Asian American studies, which has taken actually quite a dramatic turn towards the topic of empire in recent years. I wonder how these resources might be able to enable us to push forward our own critical projects wherever we're located. That's my comment. Thank you.
So any one of you would like to respond to Yi's question? Evie?
I just want to say something, I guess for being sitting here for 2 days, right? So I ought to, I want to thank all the presenters. Sorry that I was late this morning, so I was not able to listen to the presentations by the morning session today. But for the other 3 panels and the poetry reading yesterday, I want to thank you for your conscientious work and also your care and attention to this scholarly presentations. As I was listening yesterday, about our mission here today, for these 2 days, doing Asian American studies in Taiwan, I was writing in my notes, Korea from Kongju Lee started so-called Asian American studies in 1964, and India having the second largest American Studies Resource Center outside of US territory, probably established in 1910. Japan, the very clear chronology, the study of Asian American or American literatures, probably in the 1960s, and Philippines probably 1950s, but then work of Amy Kaplan and all the US Empire critical studies, the critical year 1899, and Vietnam, Ruan Jingyue Lao Shi mentioned. Then also Professor Fujigana, Candice, Hawaii, 1893, and I was working on some other project that brought my attention to the treaty signed by China and the US government for trade. That was in 1844. And then Professor Chen mentioned the history of Okinawa being occupied, possessed by 1879 Japanese colonial regime, and then taken over by America in World War II, and then trying to gain their independence. The history, 1972. All of this, that comes to me as a clear crystallization, as Professor Kyung-Soo Shin has mentioned in her powerfully written essay, The Two Americas, or Many Americas, the lived, remembered, and repressed Asia's, in her paper, that this is, in a way, the so-called Asian American literature really crystallizes an imperial scheme, or US settler in Fujikawa's particular point. US imperial colonial scheme, in a way, in her paper, Professor Shin's, this their literature that follows the pattern of African American literature, Native American literature, or Mexican Chicana literature, and our project, Asian American Studies. And I find this to be particularly important and illuminating for someone who studies the English language, and also if I could, for someone who claims myself, okay, to study American literature, and now more and more I say literature in the United States as a field that I am still learning. So this is my learning, my note on what I have been going through, and then just a final note on this organization of the workshop for the 2 days, and I want to go back to the term brought up by Professor Amy Parry. This happens, this kind of workshop, happens, OFT, only for Taiwan. And thank you, Andy, thank you, Professor Shen, and all the other, staff, the staff people here that makes the 2 days workshop happening. So I just want to express my gratitude.
You're welcome. Andy, please.
If I may, I think first of all, thank you for the great panel and all those acknowledgements. We have other moments with that, obviously. So I want to kind of bring the energy back to what Hyungji left us with, and to again bring things into the kind of concrete details. This may actually be kind of risky, but anyway, let me put it out this way. I think one of the things that kind of has a feedback and if anything, immediate impact will be actually on the institution itself, particularly our institute, and we have the former director and then the current director. I think it's actually a wonderful moment to kind of bring this up, although somewhat risky. And I want to thank them for their tolerance and leniency in advance. But not to lose the moment by saying that okay, let me put it this way. By saying that the institute itself has become its own machine in some ways, right? So in other words, the kind of critical work they have been doing over the last 20 years is actually quite a tremendous miracle, because they're able to do Chinese American literature within a fairly Eurocentric model institute. And I think they have kind of laid the front, the bricks for future work to come. But nonetheless, I think that the strength of the institution has become so strong that that it is really another miracle that we could have this workshop, given the guise of Asian American studies. So I guess I'm just trying to reveal the sort of, if anything, the real kind of scheme of things in my mind as I was organizing this thing. That is to really kind of shift the ground and shake up the institution by saying, what the heck are we actually doing if we're doing American studies in Asia without kind of critical understanding of what the institution, the history of the institution, as well as the history of the kind of intellectual genealogy that have been kind of inherited willingly or unwillingly. And this is said not as a critique of any individuals in this particular institution, but to really kind of look at the institutional logic, through which we are sort of somewhat interpolated in kind of a theory term. So in a way, I think it's important to remain, as some panels were stressing, this umbrella presence of the America, right? And so I guess the project here would actually to ask us, as a kind of collective body, to think about what if we cannot get rid of the institution, then maybe we can also ask what the institution can do for us by doing some kind